I think one of the most interesting thing was my army days. The first night was the most interesting one. When I got into my bunk, there was this sticker in my locker. It had a lot of Arabic script on it. So it was a sticker. I was like thinking to myself, I'm not a Muslim, so why should I have it inside my cupboard lah? So I ripped it off, then I looked at bed 1, and I was like, okay, bed 1 is a Muslim lah. So I took that sticker and pasted it in his cupboard. That very night, after lights out, about 11 plus 12, I woke up. I just sat up, and because I heard chanting noises. So I heard chanting noises, I turned to the right, I put on my specs, and then I realized there's a figure sitting on the bed 1, sitting right next to him and just chanting over his sleeping form. It was a really big shadow. So I looked at that thing and I just stared at it, and I was about to say something when he turned around and looked at me.
I really don't feel good like this. I'm getting a vibe.
Is anyone here? What did you find?
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.
I couldn't see any features. I just could distinctly make out it's like a very shadowy figure. He stopped chanting and he stared at me, and I could sense that he was telling me go back to sleep. So I just went back to sleep. I just lay down, fell asleep. Next morning I woke up, asked him, you guys were talking last night or what? Then he said, no, everybody was sleeping. So I just left it, and I saw the exact same figure on the last night before we POP. He did the same thing again. It was just chanting over him. This time I just ignored it. I didn't say anything. I just watched it. Just suddenly sat there and watched it. Then after a while, I just went to sleep. It was still there when I went to sleep, so I don't know exactly what it was. That particular incident happened at Leopard Coy, L Coy. One of the more interesting stories about that block itself was during my batch. We had this 四大天王, these 4 paikia who were in platoon 4. I was in platoon 3, so they are just above me by 1 floor. So they were the most rowdy, they were the most noisy, they were the most obnoxious, and they created trouble everywhere they went. So every night, I remember them because every night there was one of them, this skinny Indian guy. So he would be, every night during the last parade, he would be whacking his mug on the floor, asking for night snack too. And he and his buddies, there were 2 Indian guys and 2 Chinese guys. They were these are the 四大天王. They were always shouting in Hokkien, talking in Hokkien, and they were very rowdy. Until one evening, they became very quiet. I was very interested to know. So during our field camp, one of our sergeants told us was telling ghost stories. He said one night, he was the COS, the orderly specialist. So he went back to bunk to get something. And when he walked back, he saw that their bunk light was on at the 5th floor. He went up to investigate, to scold them. He found the 四大天王 lying on the same bed, all hugging one another to sleep, with the lights on. They don't dare to switch off the lights. He scolded them and asked them, what the F are you guys doing? Then they said, that night, after they switched off the light, I think it was about midnight when they heard rattling chains that was coming along the corridor. The chain stopped at their door opened, and the thing came into their room. It went 1 round around their table, and he left the room, and he disappeared. And then after a while, he came back again. And this time when he opened the door, one of the gangsters, the 四大天王, jumped up and switched on the light. As the chains was going around the table, there was nothing when they turned on the lights. The chain sound just stopped. The 4 of them were so scared. All of them started sleeping on each other's beds. They don't dare to sleep alone. Another incident on Tekong was during my field camp, when we were at the reclaimed area where the trees are very nicely in rows and columns. It's in rows and columns, so it's very, very nice. And it was a moonlit night, I still remember. You can see the moonlight shining through the trees. So during this movement, after I finished my tactical movement with my friends, I told my sergeant I need to use the toilet. But my buddy didn't want to use the toilet, so I called bed 1. So I asked him, hey, bro, can you go? Hey, I need to use the toilet, but we need to go by buddies. My buddy don't need to go. You need to go or not? Just nice in here and go. So we went a distance away from our platoon. And as we were peeing, we were facing this road, and the road is about a few hundred meters away, but you can see it from the moonlight shining through the trees. So I was just staring, I was looking at the road, I was like scanning from left to right, just looking. Then I realized, hey, how come in between two trees, it's just darkness? So I was like, eh? So I squinted, then I saw that glowing eye at the corner, at the top corner, and then he started moving towards us. I told my friend, hey bro, faster. So he was coming towards us, and then I told him faster. So we just finished as fast as he can, we just ran off. Afterwards I told him I saw something in the trees. He was like, what the So I think it was during that whole time, I think one of the other freakiest things, you will hear a lot of very common things like doors slamming in the middle of the night, toilet doors slamming, a presence in the toilets. Some of the other stories like don't bring pakwa into the camp. This is really true because I ever heard of same I think it was same company. They brought a pazang or pakwa to camp and the whole cupboard shook. So things like finding long hairs on the bed and all this, yes, it happens. So long hair, we found it under our beds, and it's after we stand by universe, it's got to be clean. Fall in, go back to bunk in the afternoon after lunch, the hair is there. That's very impossible lah. So that is some of that's something that happened on Tekong lah. So we were at MacRitchie, some part of MacRitchie, somewhere near the treetop trail. So one of the checkpoints that we had to find was off the trail, because during army days you are allowed to go off the trail. Now you can't. Now you're not supposed to do it, but during army training you can. Exactly what happened was we were told that there was one of our checkpoints 150 paces in front of us. So when we see 150 paces in front of us, we look up, there should be a tree with a ribbon tied on it. When we came to that tree, we turned right and we went inside. So we had a 6-man detachment. 2 of my platoon section stayed outside with their writing materials. Then the other 4 of us split into 2. So my buddy and I and another pair of buddies, we went into the forest and separated to go and look for the checkpoint. My buddy and I, we took one of the forks. There was actually a path, right next to the boardwalk, so we just followed it. And then we saw 3 mounds. We came to a point, I think 50 meters in, we came to a clearing in the trees. There were 3 mounds. So it was in a triangular shape. So there is 1 mound here, and then there's 2 mounds behind. So I thought to myself, wow, huge ant nest eh. Then I said that I looked at the floor, I shined the torch on the floor, then I was checking for ants. Then I realized that when I turned on my torchlight, it was like there's a 牌子 right in front of the mound. It's actually a tomb. So when I shined the tomb, my buddy looked at me, I looked at him, I was like, shit. We shone the torchlight on the stick. There's actually a photograph pasted on the stick with writing. So my buddy said, hey bro, buddy, we need to get out here immediately. So we went out, because we had gone through a lot of hedges, went through clearings, everything. We tried to walk out. We couldn't see anything, so we shouted. By right, we're not supposed to shout so loud. We're supposed to be very tactical. We shouted lah. So we heard nothing. We came to this clearing where we were supposed to be a pathway through. We found it was blocked by a fallen tree, which was practically impossible lah, because if a tree had fallen while we were inside, we have heard it. And any hedges that we passed through were closed up. That means there was an opening within the hedge. Now it was disappeared, it was gone. So we forced our way through, and we realized that this is the strange thing. There were vines all over the place, and the vines were like moving. It was all crawling. And it was just like trying to coil around our legs, our hands, to prevent us from moving lah. So we shouted. After a few minutes, we heard our other section mates shouting for us, couldn't find us. Because they tried to come in, they couldn't find the path. The path was totally missing when they tried to come in the second time around. By the time they came in, they found us. They said they've been shouting for us for 10 minutes. They heard nothing. They didn't hear us, we didn't hear them. That's the weird thing. And we are just only like 50, 100 meters away. You have heard something, and it's so quiet in the forest. You confirm can hear somebody shouting. That wasn't the end of the whole thing. So we came in, we brought in the guys. They bashed through the forest. They had to push open the branches and leaves just to. They said the path was there, but the path in front had closed up. So we were standing outside at the boardwalk, wondering what the heck we just experienced, right? a vine just came down from the top, coiled around one of my section mates' epaulet. Back then it's the old uniform. He coiled around his epaulet, and he got a shock when he saw it, and he yanked it away. That night when we came back again, right, we saw the section that actually told us that, hey, this is the spot. He said that they asked us, because they came back up the boardwalk, and they asked us, what the heck are we doing here? He said, the checkpoint is in front. Where we came from, we actually walked past that checkpoint. So we came to the conclusion that something in the forest made us overshoot that checkpoint, that spot, and then come to the wrong spot. Because he said, that's not a marker, because the marker that they said, right, the ribbon tied around the tree, right, is a white tape. What we saw was actually a black and yellow tape that marks danger. So we went back to the spot, and indeed we saw that tape on the overhanging branch, which we didn't see the first time around. I still remember that after Suspect, I was in Signals Institute. So Signals Institute is actually at the Tekong Crescent, Stagmont camp lah. So as a trainee, right, I still remember one of the first few nights there. I was woken up. All of a sudden, I was woken up, and I saw this person. Because in Stagmont, right, we were told to lock all our doors because we are not the only trainees in there. We have external trainees, we have OCS cadets, we have normal operators, signal operators. So spec course, we're on one floor by ourselves. We had to lock the door in case somebody comes in to steal stuff lah. So that being said, that night I woke up about 2 a.m. I checked my watch, it was about 1, 2 in the morning. I saw this person in the number 1 standing in front of my bed. He was where he had the warrant officer, I think was the first warrant or master warrant. So I saw him standing in front of my bed. I still remember he was skinny with a moustache, and he was looking at me. He asked me if everything was going okay. Then I said, yes, Encik. Then he said that, very good, carry on sleeping, get a good rest.
The number 1 uniform is exceptionally unique because it's a ceremonial uniform.
Yes. Then I remember the guy was glowing. He was glowing. So I just lay down, everything went black, and I woke up again. I was like, what the heck? And when I woke up again, it was morning lah. So I woke up at Reveille, 5:15. Woke up, like, what the heck? Then so I asked everybody, and no one saw anything. Okay. So after Stagmont, I got posted to combat engineers. So this was Jurong Camp 2. So Jurong Camp 2 was the one where I had the most experiences, I would say. So what happened was in Jurong Camp, I started running because I wanted to lose weight lah. Because of my sergeants keep telling me, "Wow, you're so fat and you put on weight." Yeah lah. So I started running lah. So Jurong Camp 2, right? I think there's a group of sheds near the back gate that goes towards back then it was not Safety, it was called Infantry Training Institute, ITI. Now I think it's called Jurong Camp 3 or Jurong Camp 1, I can't remember. So name changed already. So I would run one whole loop around the whole combat engineers compound, which is Jurong Camp 2. Then I'll run to 3rd Div, then I'll run to the ITI and come back. So every time I pass by this group of sheds that's near the back gate, I would get a very uneasy feeling. So one day my cousin, who likes to talk about his army day stories, he was also from 30 SCE, combat engineers. He was an officer. So he was telling me this story that one night, back then during the old guardhouse days, the combat engineers had their own guardhouse. One night during prowling, this was during a weekend, one of his prowlers videoed back using walkie-talkies and said, "Is the DO running around trying to scare us outside?" So he said, "No." He said, "What are you guys saying?" They said that they see someone that's running around in like an officer's uniform, all in white or something, that's running around that place. And when my cousin told me where it was that old group of sheds. At my time, it was a dump, basically a storehouse dump where they dump all our stuff. What I heard was back then it was an ammo dump, the old ammo dump. So he called them back and he asked them what exactly did they see. They said that when they reached the area where the group of sheds was, they saw a white figure running back and forth across the road, So they didn't dare to proceed. So that's why they videoed back and asked the guardhouse if the DO, the duty officer, was out to get them or out to scare them. Then the deal was in the guardhouse. Everyone was in the guardhouse, so he cancelled prowling for the rest of the night because something was out there. So when I heard that, I stopped going for I avoided that place. I avoided the place afterwards. Or if I had to do my 10K, I would always say a prayer when I'm running past there, just to be safe. Because it was really, you can really sense something is there lah. And it's not on the side of the shed, but it's on the side of the wet gap, which is where the combat engineers do their bridging training. Something was there. So later I heard a lot of stories about officers who drowned over there during my cousin's time, or people who hung themselves or everything. So these are some of the things that we experience in the TSE lah. The other story was when I first joined, I stayed with the HQ Coy because there are no bunks in the spec bunk. I stayed with the storeman and the CQ lah, in a very small bunk at the corner of the block. It was a Delta Coy block, Delta Echo, and plant companies lah. So I was on the 3rd floor, above the office. Then above us is the 4th floor. Then the 5th floor is plant mechanical ME company lah. So what happened was, in the bunk in the corner, we overlooked the training ground, the wet gap, and next to us is also the housing estates lah. And I remember it's not long after I got posted there, it was the 7th month. So being army guys, we love to tell ghost stories. So that night we were telling our ghost stories. I was sharing with them what I saw during scouts. When I was a scout, I was sharing them what I saw during CISPAC. We were not very respectful about it. We were joking and we were like, a lot of Hokkien vulgarities, and was traded. So a bunch of us, there were some Muslim storemen, there were some Chinese guys, there was some Indian. My CQ was Indian lah. So we were all laughing. There was only one guy who didn't take part in it. That night, all of us couldn't sleep. We heard people running, all of us, this is exactly all of us in the bunk, except for that one guy who didn't take part. We heard footsteps, somebody running, wearing slippers and running in and out of the bunk. They open the door, slam the door, open the door, slam the door, running in, out. The storeman sleeping on the single beds had the blankets pulled off. The thing actually sat on me in the middle of the night. It sat on me and it tried to pull the cross from my neck. So next morning, I actually had the marks all over my neck. So it tried to pull across. So I took the cross, I wrapped it around my hand, and then it tried to rip it from my hand. Next morning, I found myself, my feet was facing, I was sleeping with my feet facing up towards the ceiling. My toes pointed to the ceiling, but my upper body was twisted facing the bed. The whole body was contorted.
How is that? So you're on like 180 flip?
Not 180, it's just like that with my feet facing up. So I was like in a super uncomfortable position and my hand with the cross was put over the bed. So it was dangling at the edge of the mattress, as if something was trying to pull across. So that whole night before I blacked out, I was saying the Lord's Prayer the whole way.
So when he was trying to pull the crucifix off the cross off your neck, you actually took it out and held it in your hand?
Yeah. And he was trying to rip off, he was trying to pull it from me.
Because sleeping with your toes facing upwards and having your body turned to one side is very uncomfortable.
It was. But that was the position when I woke up. That was what I was in. So I asked the guy who was sleeping, the guy who didn't take part in our ghost stories, right, was sleeping in the bed below mine. So I asked him, "Do you feel anything at all the whole night?" He said, "No, he slept like a baby." So this went on for 3 nights. But that was the only night that I experienced the whole bed shaking thing and that's the worst night, the first night. So after the night, we never ever told a ghost story again. This was after all the specs moved into the same bunk. So my CQ, who is a 3rd sergeant also with us, we moved into the same bunk. He was sleeping adjacent to mine. So my bed was like this, his bed was like this, my bed was like this. So this is my bed. That night, I think it was 2 days or 3 days after he OR'd. His cupboard was still closed. We didn't go and check his cupboard because he claimed he cleared it out already lah. That very same night, I woke up to a burning smell. When I sit up, I can facing basically a row of windows. So this row of windows, I saw a figure standing there. Now at this point of time, right, I still remember our bunk door was locked because there was a batch of BMT recruits, mono intake, that was above us. So they were on their confinement. We were supposed to lock our doors and lock everything up. I was like thinking to myself, why is one of my bunkmates standing at the window in the middle of the night? I saw this dark figure standing there, so I put on my specs and I looked across at my fellow sergeants. They were sleeping on their beds. They were all both fast asleep. So this figure, I couldn't make it out. Even when I put on my specs, it's standing there, the floodlight is on. So by right I can see, I should be able to see some figure, but it's just a silhouette, a black shape standing there. It's a black shadow figure, very well defined. It's not like, not shadowy, not say shadowy, like it's got no like, you know, vignetting or some kind of like shimmering or whatever. It's just one solid black figure standing at the window. I just kept my mouth shut. I covered my blanket and went to sleep. But the burning smell got stronger, so it smells like something burning, you know. So I pull the blanket off my body, and I sit up and I see that black figure sitting on the CQ, the just recently ORD CQ's bed. It's sitting there and is watching me. And I was like, what the? So I was like, I just said a prayer, I said that I'm not here to disturb you, blah, blah, blah. I went to sleep, I just covered and went to sleep. I just ignored the smell, ignored the figure and just went back to sleep. Next morning, before we went to report for guard duty, right, I was like thinking to myself, what the heck did I see that night? I suspected it had something to do with my CQ. True enough, I opened up his cupboard. Now this is the thing about my CQ, he's an Indian, he's a Hindu. Every morning he would put holy ash on his forehead, I still remember. That holy ash, I thought he cleared out his whole, I opened up his locker. That holy ash, the whole bucket of, because I remember it's a whole big huge box of it, right? That idiot, when he ORD'd the exact same day, he took that whole box and just threw it into the cupboard like this. So he just sprinkled all, he just sprayed all over the place. So the whole cupboard was covered with ash. And after that, I was like thinking, I just clean it, said prayers, clean it, then I never saw that thing ever again. He said the floor above, that corner bunk, right, a driver had committed suicide there. He hung himself.
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.